The cold wind howled across the endless white of Antarctica. It was late in the year 2147, and the small research station called Polar Base 7 sat like a lonely metal box on the ice. Inside, a team of 6 scientists worked through the long polar night. They drilled ice cores, checked weather data, and tried not to think too much about how far they were from home. Dr. Daniel Harper was the leader of the group. He was 38, tall, with short brown hair and calm green eyes. He had spent most of his life studying rocks and ancient ice. He liked quiet work and clear answers. Right now, he sat at his desk staring at a computer screen that showed strange numbers. The screen flashed red. A low rumble came from deep under the ground. The coffee cup on Daniel's desk shook. He looked up. Everyone else in the main room stopped what they were doing. Laura Bennett, the team's biologist, walked over. She was short, with curly black hair tied back. "Daniel, did you feel that?" she asked. He nodded. "Seismic reading just spiked, but there's nothing on the map that should cause it." Another scientist, Ryan Carter, pushed his glasses up his nose. He was the youngest, only 29, and good with machines. "Maybe the ice cracked, or equipment glitch." Daniel stood up. "Let's check the deep sensors." They moved to the control room. The monitors showed lines jumping wildly. One sensor, buried 2 kilometers down, sent data that made no sense. It showed heat, not just a little heat, strong, steady heat, like something alive waking up. Laura frowned. "That can't be natural. Nothing lives that deep in the ice." Daniel rubbed his chin. "We need to send a probe." They prepared a small drilling probe. It took 2 hours to lower it into the borehole. The camera feed came online. At first, it showed only dark ice walls. Then the probe broke through into a large open space. The team stared at the screen. There was a huge chamber carved out of the ice and rock. Smooth metal walls curved upward. Lights, faint blue lights, glowed along the edges. In the center stood something massive. It looked like a giant man made of shining silver and black metal. It was over 100 meters tall, even sitting down with its arms folded. Its head was smooth, with no face except 2 closed eyes that looked like dark glass. Ryan whispered, "What is that?" No one answered. The probe moved closer. Suddenly the giant figure moved. Its head lifted slowly. The eyes opened. Bright blue light poured out. A deep voice filled the control room speakers. It spoke in clear, perfect English. "Threat assessment complete. Galactic incursion detected. Protector protocol reactivated." The words echoed. Everyone froze. Did that thing just talk? Daniel swallowed. "It knows English. How?" The voice spoke again. "Guardian Prime online. Cradle World Defense Priority 1. Human presence confirmed. Identity scan initiated." A thin beam of light shot from the giant's chest. It passed through the probe and reached the surface. In the control room, small lights appeared above each person's head. The lights scanned them quickly and disappeared. "Human genetic markers match. Descendants of seeded population confirmed. Protector link established." Daniel stepped forward. "This is Dr. Daniel Harper. We are scientists from Earth. Who are you? What are you doing here?" The giant did not answer right away. Its eyes dimmed a little, as if thinking. Then it spoke. "I am Guardian Prime, built by the architects to protect Cradle Worlds. This planet, Earth, was marked for long-term observation. Dormancy engaged when local civilization reached stable phase. Dormancy ended due to external threat." Ryan looked at the others. "Cradle World? Architects? What is he talking about?" Laura shook her head. "It sounds like we're not the first ones here. Like someone left this thing to watch over us." Outside, the wind stopped for a moment. The ice groaned loudly. The ground shook harder. Cracks spread across the surface. The giant began to rise. In the chamber, Ice fell away in huge sheets. Metal plates shifted and locked into place. The Guardian Prime stood up fully. Its body was sleek and strong, covered in armor that changed colors slightly in the blue light. It raised one massive hand. A pulse of energy shot upward. The ice above broke open like an eggshell. The team ran to the surface door. They stepped out into the freezing air. Above them, the sky was dark, but something huge was pushing through the ice. The Guardian Prime emerged. It climbed out slowly, careful not to damage the research station. When it stood on the surface, it towered over everything. The metal skin reflected the faint aurora lights. Its eyes scanned the horizon. Daniel, Laura, Ryan, and the others stood in a line, staring up. Their breath made white clouds in the cold. The giant looked down at them. Its voice came again, softer this time. Humans of Earth, your world is no longer hidden. A coalition fleet approaches from the outer rim. They seek resources. They seek control. They do not know what waits here. Laura found her voice. Are you going to fight them? The Guardian Prime turned its head toward the stars. My purpose is protection. I will defend the cradle. But first, I must warn the galaxy. It raised both arms. A bright pulse shot into space. The light was so strong, it lit up the ice for hundreds of kilometers. Satellites around Earth caught the signal. Space telescopes on the Moon and Mars recorded it. Even far away, alien ships saw the flash. In deep space, on board the command ship of the Zorath Dominion, Warlord Krelvor watched the same light on his screen. His red skin tightened. His officers moved nervously. Report, he growled. A subordinate answered, Sir, the signal matches ancient records. It is a protector awakening. From the Sol system. Krelvor's eyes narrowed. The forgotten cradle. The one we thought was empty. Another officer spoke. The old stories say protectors destroyed entire armadas. One shot can end a dreadnought. Krelvor stared at the image of the giant standing on the ice. Then we will test the legend. Back on Earth, the Guardian Prime lowered its arms. It looked at Daniel and the others again. You have lived without knowledge of me. You built your own machines, your own ships. You are stronger than the architects expected. But the danger is real. I will stand between you and those who come. Daniel stepped closer. His voice was steady. We don't want war. Can we talk to them? Make peace? The giant was quiet for a long moment. Peace is possible only if they fear the cost of war. I will show them the cost. It turned and walked toward the open ice. Each step shook the ground a little. It stopped at the edge of the broken ice shelf and looked up at the stars. Laura whispered to Daniel, What happens now? Daniel watched the giant. I think we just became part of something much bigger. High above in orbit, human satellites picked up new signals. Alien channels went silent. Fleets that had been moving towards Sol slowed down, stopped, turned off their weapons. The galaxy was watching. The news hit Earth like a shockwave. Within hours of the Guardian Prime climbing out of the Antarctic ice, every screen on the planet showed the same images. Satellites captured the giant metal figure standing tall against the dark sky. Phones buzzed with alerts. People stopped in streets, stared at shop windows, and whispered to each other. Something impossible had happened. In Washington, emergency meetings filled the White House Situation Room. In Beijing, leaders gathered around long tables. In Moscow, generals watched live feeds in silence. No one knew what to say at first. The thing on the ice was not human. It was not from any country. Yet it spoke English. It called Earth a cradle world, and it said danger was coming. At Polar Base 7, Daniel Harper and his team stayed close to the station. They could not leave. The ice around them was cracked and unstable. The Guardian Prime had moved a short distance away. It stood still now, like a statue made of silver and shadow. Its eyes glowed softly, watching the stars. Laura Bennett sat on a crate outside the main door. She held a hot drink, but her hands shook a little. "Daniel, do you think it's telling the truth about invaders?" Daniel stood beside her, looking up at the giant. "I don't know, but it woke up after thousands, maybe millions of years. It knew our language. It scanned us and said we are descendants. That means something big." Ryan Carter came out, carrying a tablet. "I've been going through the data the probe recorded before it got crushed. There are symbols on the walls of that chamber. Old symbols, not human. But some of them match patterns we've seen in ancient cave art from all over the world." Laura turned to him. "Cave art? Like the ones in France or Indonesia?" Ryan nodded. "Yes. Handprints, spirals, figures with big heads. People thought they were just drawings. What if they were memories? Stories about visitors who came long ago." Daniel rubbed his eyes. He felt tired. "We need more information. The Guardian said something about architects and seeded population." They went back inside. The other team members, 3 quiet engineers named Kevin, Megan, and Brian, were already working. Megan Torres was the astrophysicist. She had dark hair pulled into a tight bun and sharp eyes behind glasses. She pointed at her screen. "Look at this. The Guardian sent out a data burst when it woke up. I caught part of it on our dish. It's encrypted, but I ran it through basic decryption. It's not code meant to hide from us. It's meant to hide from others." She played a short audio clip. The deep voice spoke again, but this time in fragments. "Cradle designation, Sol 3. Seeding complete. Successor species, Homo sapiens. Dormancy threshold reached. External monitoring resumed." Kevin Morales, the team historian, leaned forward. He was older, with gray hair and a calm voice. "Seeding. That word. In old myths, gods planted life, or watchers left seeds on worlds. What if the architects were real? What if they came here long before we built cities? They saw something in early humans. They protected us. Then they left this thing to keep watching." Megan kept reading. "There's more. The Guardian Network. There are others like it on different worlds. But most cradles failed. Wars, disasters. Earth was one of the few that survived long enough to grow on its own. That's why it went to sleep. We didn't need it anymore. Until now." Laura crossed her arms. "And now, what changed?" Megan looked up. "The Zorath Dominion. That's the name in the data. They're a big empire. Aggressive. They take planets with good resources. Earth has water, rare minerals, and something they call biotic potential. They've been watching us for years, but they thought we were alone. No big defenses. Easy target." Daniel stared at the floor. "So this thing woke up because they're coming." Outside, the Guardian Prime moved again. It took one slow step, then another. It walked to the edge of the broken ice shelf and stopped. It raised one arm. A thin beam of light shot into the sky. The beam pulsed, then it stopped. Seconds later, every news channel on Earth cut to new images. The beam had reached space. It formed a message in clear text across hundreds of satellites. "Sol system under protection. Incursion will be met with full response. Withdraw." The message repeated in thousands of languages. Alien languages, too. The galaxy heard it. In a dark chamber far across the stars, Warlord Krelvor of the Zorath Dominion slammed his fist on the table. His officers flinched. The holographic display showed the giant on Earth. It showed the message in their own script. One officer spoke carefully. "Sir, the signal matches the old warnings. The protectors are real." Krelvor's voice was low. "We thought the stories were lies, tales to scare children. A cradle world left alone because it had a monster guardian. Another officer added, "Our scouts say the thing is powering up weapons. Energy readings are off the charts. If it fights, we lose ships. Many ships." Krelvor stared at the image of the Guardian Prime. "We do not retreat. Not yet. Send a probe. Test it. See if the legend is true." Back on Earth, governments tried to talk to the Guardian. Military jets flew close. Ships sailed near Antarctica. Diplomats sent radio messages. The giant did not answer. It only watched. Then, late that night, it spoke again. This time, only to the people at Polar Base 7. Its voice came through every speaker in the station. "Humans, I have waited long. Your kind was small when I last saw you. You hunted with stones. Now you reach for stars. You are worthy. But the enemy does not care for worth. They come for what they can take." Daniel stepped outside. The others followed. They stood under the giant's shadow. Daniel called up, "Guardian Prime, we want to understand. Why us? Why protect us?" The head tilted down. Blue eyes looked at them. "The architects chose worlds with life that could think, that could feel, that could grow. Many failed. You did not. You built tools. You asked questions. You made mistakes and learned. That is why you are the successors. My purpose is simple. Keep the cradle safe until the children can stand alone." Laura asked, "Are we alone now, or do we still need you?" The Guardian was quiet for a long time. "You are not ready for what comes, not yet. But you are strong. I will buy you time." Megan stepped forward. "Can we help? We have ships, weapons, people." The giant looked at her. "You will, when the time comes. For now, learn, prepare. I will share what I know." A small panel opened on its chest. A crystal object floated out. It was the size of a football. It glowed softly. It drifted down and landed gently in Daniel's hands. Knowledge core. History. Technology. Warnings. Use it well. Daniel held it carefully. It felt warm. The Guardian turned its gaze back to the stars. "The fleet slows. They are afraid. Good. Fear can stop wars before they start." Laura looked at the crystal, then at the giant. "What happens if they don't stop?" The answer came without pause. "And the galaxy will see why cradles are left untouched." Daniel felt the weight of the crystal in his hands. He looked up at the towering figure. For the first time, he did not feel small. He felt part of something ancient, something powerful. The wind blew cold across the ice, but inside the team, a new fire started. They were not just scientists anymore. They were witnesses. They were the bridge between a forgotten past and whatever came next. And high above, the stars seemed a little brighter, as if the whole galaxy held its breath. The stars looked the same from every corner of the galaxy, cold and distant. But on this night, they carried fear. In the vast council chambers of a dozen alien species, leaders gathered around glowing tables. Holographic screens showed the same thing, a single giant figure standing on the frozen surface of a small blue world called Earth. In the Zorath Dominion flagship, Warlord Krelvor paced slowly. His red skin was tight with anger, his black eyes fixed on the live feed from their long-range scouts. The Guardian Prime had not moved much since it rose from the ice. It stood like a mountain of metal, arms at its sides, eyes glowing steady blue. But the energy readings around it climbed higher every hour. Weapon systems, shields, something ancient and terrible waking up. Krelvor turned to his officers. "Explain it again. Why did we not know this thing existed?" A thin gray-skinned advisor named Vexlor spoke carefully. "The old records were sealed after the last Protector War, 10,000 cycles ago. We thought the stories were myths. Cradle worlds with sleeping guardians, worlds we avoided. Sol 3 was marked as empty. No advanced tech, no defenses. We plan to claim it quietly. Krelvor growled. Quietly. Now the whole galaxy knows. Across the stars, other empires watched too. The peaceful Lyrath Collective sent urgent messages to their allies. Their pale blue diplomats stared at images of the giant and whispered about old legends. The warlike Kragath Empire laughed at first, then stopped when their own databases confirmed the truth. One protector had once torn apart a fleet of 500 ships in less than an hour. No survivors, no mercy. In a neutral trade station orbiting a gas giant, representatives from 20 species met in secret. A tall, feathered being from the avian Concord spoke first. We must not act rashly. The Zorath may force our hand. If they attack and fail, the Protector may turn its gaze on all of us. A short, armored creature from the Iron Pact shook its head. Fear is the point. The Zorath will test it. If it falls, we gain a weak world. If it wins, we learn the cost. They argued for hours. No one wanted war. But no one wanted the Zorath to grow stronger either. Back on Earth, the mood was different. Panic mixed with wonder. Cities filled with people staring at the sky. News channels ran the same clip over and over. The giant rising from the ice, its voice calm and deep. Governments tried to stay calm. They issued statements. We are in contact. No immediate threat. But everyone knew the truth. Something bigger than nations had taken control. At Polar Base 7, Daniel Harper and his team worked without sleep. The crystal knowledge core the Guardian had given them sat on a table in the main room. Megan Torres connected it to their computers. Lines of data flowed across screens. Maps of old stars, blueprints of weapons no human had ever seen, records of forgotten wars. Megan read aloud. The architects were not gods. They were explorers. They found young worlds with thinking life. They protected the best ones, built guardians, left when the species could stand alone. Most cradles died anyway. Wars, plagues, stupidity. Earth was different. We kept growing. Kevin Morales nodded slowly. That explains the gaps in our history. Sudden leaps, lost civilizations. Maybe the architects helped a little, then stepped back. Laura Bennett watched the Guardian through the window. It had not spoken since giving the core. It's waiting. For what? Ryan Carter pointed at a new screen. For them. A small Zorath probe had entered the outer edge of the solar system. It moved slow and careful. Human telescopes tracked it. Military ships from Earth moved to intercept, but the Guardian acted first. The giant raised one arm. A thin beam of light lanced out from its palm. The beam hit the probe. The probe vanished in a flash of white. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Daniel exhaled. It didn't even try to talk. The Guardian's voice came through the station speakers. Soft, almost gentle. Warning delivered. They will understand now. In deep space, the Zorath fleet waited. Thousands of ships hung in formation. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, fighters, all silent. The loss of the probe sent ripples through their command chain. Krelvor stared at the empty space where the scout had been. Vexlor spoke quietly. It did not destroy our main force. It could have. It chose a small target. A message. Krelvor clenched his fists. Then we send a bigger message. He gave the order. A single heavy cruiser moved forward. It fired a test shot. A plasma bolt aimed at an empty asteroid belt near Jupiter. The bolt traveled straight. The Guardian reacted instantly. From Earth's orbit, a new light appeared. The giant had left the ice. It now floated high above the planet, like a second moon made of metal. Its body turned slowly. One hand opened. A shimmering field spread out. The plasma bolt hit the field and disappeared. No sound, No impact. The cruiser tried again. Another shot. Same result. Then the Guardian answered. A single lance of pure kinetic energy shot from its chest. It moved faster than light in the last moment. Impossible, but real. The lance punched through the cruiser's shields like paper. The ship broke in half. Secondary explosions lit up the dark. The two pieces drifted apart, dead. The Zorath fleet froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Krelvor's voice was low. Full retreat. All ships. Hold position at the rim. His officers obeyed without question. On Earth, people cheered in the streets. They did not fully understand what happened, but they saw the light show in the sky. They saw one enemy ship die in seconds. They felt safe for the first time in days. At the research station, the team watched the same feed. Laura smiled for the first time. It's protecting us, just like it said. Daniel looked up at the giant, now orbiting high above. But it's alone. One machine against thousands. Megan shook her head. Not alone. It has us now, and the knowledge core. We can learn, we can build. Kevin added, the galaxy is watching, not just the Zorath. Everyone. They see what happens when you threaten a cradle world. The Guardian's voice came again, this time only to them. Fear spreads faster than fleets. They will talk now. They will bargain. But if they attack again, I will end them. Daniel stepped outside, into the cold. He looked up. The giant's eyes met his, even from so far away. He spoke quietly, though he knew it could hear. Thank you. The blue glow brightened for a moment, then dimmed. The Protector had shown its power. The galaxy had seen. Ships turned away. Messages of peace filled the channels. Old enemies sent careful words. No one wanted to be next. But deep in the Zorath command ship, Krelvor sat alone. He stared at the recording of the destroyed cruiser. His mind turned. Fear could stop a war, or start a bigger one. He whispered to himself, we will see how strong this forgotten thing really is. Above Earth, the Guardian waited. Silent, patient, ready. The stars watched back, and for the first time in a long age, the galaxy felt small. The Zorath Dominion fleet hung at the edge of the solar system like a storm cloud waiting to break. Thousands of ships filled the dark, dreadnoughts with thick armor, cruisers bristling with weapons, swarms of small fighters ready to strike. Warlord Krelvor stood on the bridge of his flagship. His red eyes burned with anger. He had lost one scout. He had lost one cruiser. That was enough to make him pause, but not enough to make him leave. He spoke to his officers in a low growl. We tested again. Not one ship. A full vanguard. 10 dreadnoughts. Push forward. Fire everything when we reach the orbit of the 4th planet. An officer hesitated. Sir, the Protector. Krelvor cut him off. The Protector is one machine. We are an empire. If it bleeds, we win. If it dies, Earth is ours. The order went out. 10 massive dreadnoughts broke from the main fleet. Engines flared. They moved toward the inner system, slow at first, then faster. Shields hummed to life. On Earth, alarms sounded in every military base. Satellites tracked the advance. Human ships, small compared to the aliens, moved to defensive positions. But everyone knew the truth. The real defense was not human. It was the giant that now orbited high above the planet. At Polar Base 7, Daniel Harper stood outside in the cold. He looked up. The Guardian Prime floated in space like a silent sentinel. Its body had changed slightly. New plates had shifted. Thin lines of blue energy ran along its arms and chest. It was ready. Laura Bennett joined him. They're coming. 10 big ones. Daniel nodded. I know. Megan Torres ran out with a tablet. The knowledge core just updated. It's sharing live data with us. The Guardian sees everything. It's calculating trajectories, power levels, weak points. Kevin Morales followed her. It's not waiting for them to get close. Look. High above, the Guardian moved. Its eyes brightened. Then it spoke. The voice came through every radio, every speaker, every device on Earth. Invaders, this is your final warning. Withdraw now, or be erased. The Zorath ships did not stop. The dreadnoughts reached the orbit of Mars. They opened fire. A wave of plasma bolts and kinetic rounds raced toward Earth. The shots were meant to test the defenses, to force the Protector to show its hand. The Guardian answered. It raised both arms. A wide field of shimmering energy spread out in front of it. The field was huge, thousands of kilometers across. Every shot hit the field and vanished. No explosion, no sound, just gone. The Zorath commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. Then the Guardian struck back. From its chest, thin lances of white light shot out. Not one, 10. Each lance moved faster than thought. They crossed the distance in seconds. Each one found a dreadnought. Shields flared and failed. Hulls tore open. Explosions bloomed like flowers in the dark. One by one, the ships died. Metal twisted. Fire bloomed and died in vacuum. Debris spun away in slow arcs. 10 ships gone in less than a minute. The remaining Zorath fleet pulled back hard. Engines burned bright as they retreated. On Earth, people watched from rooftops, from windows, from streets. The sky lit up with distant flashes. They cheered, they cried, they hugged strangers. For the first time, the impossible felt real. Their world had a defender. At the research station, the team stared at the screens. Ryan Carter whispered, "It didn't even move much, just pointed and ended them." Megan looked at the knowledge core. "It's not trying to kill everything, it's being precise. It could have hit the whole fleet. It didn't." Laura turned to Daniel. "Why?" Daniel watched the Guardian. "Because it wants them to learn, to go home, to tell others what happens here." The Guardian's voice came again, this time only to the small group at the base. "Humans, the threat is not over. They will try once more. Larger force, more anger. I will hold them, but you must decide. Will you hide behind me, or will you stand with me?" Daniel stepped forward. He spoke aloud, knowing it heard. "We want to help. Tell us how." A beam of light came down from space. It landed softly in front of them. A small device appeared, flat, black, glowing at the edges. It floated up and opened like a book made of light. "Interface node. Connect your systems. Learn my weapons. Build your own. The time for watching is over. The time for fighting together begins." Megan took the node carefully. She connected it to their main computer. New data flooded in. Blueprints, energy designs, shield patterns, things humans had dreamed of but never built. This is decades, maybe centuries, ahead. But we can start small. We can share it with the world. Laura looked up at the sky. The galaxy is still watching. What do they see now? The Guardian answered. They see fear turn to respect. They see a cradle world that does not beg. They see successors who choose to fight. In the Zorath flagship, Warlord Krelvor sat in silence. The bridge was quiet. Officers avoided his gaze. The loss of 10 dreadnoughts hurt, but the real pain was deeper. His empire had always taken what it wanted. No one had ever stopped them like this. He spoke at last. "Send the diplomats, all channels, offer terms, ceasefire, recognition of Saul's sovereignty, no more incursions." An officer looked surprised. "Sir?" Krelvor's voice was tired. "We can rebuild ships. We cannot rebuild pride if we are all dead. The Protector does not bluff. We have seen enough." Messages poured in from across the galaxy. Alien ambassadors spoke carefully. They offered peace. They asked questions. They wanted to know more about the Forgotten Guardian. They wanted to know if Earth would share its knowledge, or if it would guard it alone. On Earth, leaders met in secret. They talked to the Guardian through the interface node. They learned its limits. It was powerful, but not endless. It could fight for years, but it needed time to recharge after big battles. It needed humanity to grow strong, to take some of the burden. Daniel stood with the team outside again. The Guardian had lowered itself closer to Earth. It floated now just above the atmosphere. Its shadow fell across the ice. Daniel called up. "What happens after this, when they leave?" The giant looked down. "I return to watch. I sleep when you no longer need me. But I will wake if the threat returns. You are my purpose. You are the reason I exist. We won't forget you." The blue eyes softened. "You already did once. That is why I was forgotten. Do not forget again." The team worked through the night. They sent the first blueprints to governments. Engineers around the world started building. Small shields, new engines, weapons based on the Guardian's designs. The Zorath fleet pulled back to the outer rim. They waited for orders, but the orders never came for attack, only for talks. The galaxy watched, not with fear alone now, with something new. Respect, caution, wonder. A forgotten protector had awakened. It had fought, it had won the first battle, and it had asked its children to stand beside it. Earth was no longer alone, and the stars felt different. The Zormath fleet pulled back far beyond the outer planets. Their ships drifted in silence, engines cold, weapons powered down. Warlord Krelvor sat alone on his bridge. The glow of the screens showed empty space where 10 dreadnoughts once flew. He had lost more than ships. He had lost certainty. For the first time in his long command, he felt small. Across the galaxy, messages flew fast. Alien councils met in hidden stations. Diplomats spoke in soft voices. Old enemies sent careful words to Earth. "We recognize sole sovereignty. No further claims. Trade if you wish. War never again." The words came from many species. Some were sincere. Some came from fear. All came from respect. On Earth, the sky felt different. People walked outside at night and looked up without worry. Children pointed at the bright star that was the Guardian Prime. They called it the Big Friend. News channels showed calm faces. Leaders spoke of new alliances. But the real change happened quietly. At Polar Base 7, the ice had started to heal. Cracks filled with fresh snow. The station lights glowed warm against the dark. Daniel Harper stood outside one last time. His breath made clouds. He looked up at the giant that now floated lower, close enough that its shadow covered the base like a gentle hand. The team gathered around him. Laura Bennett zipped her coat tighter. Megan Torres held the interface node. Kevin Morales carried notes filled with new ideas. Ryan Carter checked a small shield generator they had built from the Knowledge Core plans. It hummed softly, strong enough to protect the station from a storm. The Guardian Prime spoke. Its voice came clear through the cold air. The invaders retreat. Their leaders sign terms. The immediate threat ends. My primary protocol is complete. Daniel stepped forward. What does that mean for you? The giant lowered itself slowly. It landed on the ice with care. The ground shook only a little. Its massive feet settled into the snow. It knelt, bringing its face closer to the humans. The blue eyes looked at each of them in turn. I was built to protect until the successors could protect themselves. You have begun. You share my knowledge. You build with it. You stand ready. My vigil can return to rest. Laura asked quietly, will you sleep again? Yes, but not forever. I will watch from below. Sensors will stay awake. If a new threat comes, Zorath or others, I will rise. Until then, Earth is yours to guard. Megan looked at the node in her hands. You gave us so much. Weapons, shields, history. We can grow stronger. We can explore. We can meet the galaxy on equal terms. The Guardian nodded once. That is the purpose. The architects chose well. You learn, you adapt, you care for your world. That is why you survived when others did not. Do you feel anything? After all this time? The giant was silent for a long moment. Then it answered. I was made to think, to decide, to protect. I feel purpose fulfilled. That is enough. Daniel looked up into the glowing eyes. We won't forget you this time. We'll teach the children. We'll remember the forgotten protector. The blue light in the eyes softened. Teach them strength comes from within. I am only the shield. You are the heart. A small door opened in the Guardian's chest. Another crystal floated out, smaller than the first. It drifted down and landed in Daniel's open hands. Final gift. My core memories. Every battle I fought long ago. Every world I watched. Every lesson learned. Use them wisely. Share them when your people are ready. Daniel held it close. It felt warm, like a promise. The Guardian stood again. It walked slowly to the place where it first emerged. The ice cracked gently as it lowered itself. Metal plates shifted. Lights dimmed along its body. It settled back into the chamber below. The ground closed over it. Fresh snow fell. In minutes, the surface looked almost untouched. Only a faint blue glow remained under the ice, deep and steady. The team stood in silence. The wind blew softly. Laura broke the quiet. It's sleeping. Daniel nodded. But it's here. Always here. Days turned to weeks. Earth changed. Governments shared the knowledge core data. Engineers built new ships with energy shields. Scientists studied the old architect maps. People looked at the stars with new eyes. Not fear, not greed, curiosity. Alien ships came closer, not to fight, but to talk. Diplomats landed in neutral zones. They asked questions. They offered gifts. They learned Earth's name for the first time without laughing. Humanity answered with calm voices. No begging, no threats. Just truth. In one meeting, a Lyrath diplomat spoke to Daniel, now a quiet advisor to world leaders. Your protectors scared us all, but it also gave us hope. A cradle world that grew strong without endless war. We want to learn from you. Daniel smiled a little. We're still learning too, but we'll share what we can. High above, satellites watched the blue glow under Antarctica. It pulsed once a year, like a heartbeat. Scientists called it the Watch. Children drew pictures of the giant. Stories spread. Songs were written. Years passed. Earth built its first true starfleet. Small at first, then bigger. Humans visited other worlds. They made friends. They solved problems. They remembered the lesson. Strength is not just weapons. It is choice. One night, far in the future, a young girl named Emily stood on a hill with her father. They looked at the stars. Dad, is the big friend still there? She asked. Her father nodded. Yes, sleeping. But ready? Emily smiled. Good, because we're ready too. Under the ice, the blue glow answered in silence. A quiet promise. The galaxy no longer watched in fear. It watched in wonder. A forgotten world had awakened its protector. Then it had grown beyond the need for one. Cradles were no longer prizes to take. They were examples to follow. The Zorath never came back. Other empires stayed away, unless invited. Trade routes opened. Knowledge flowed. Peace settled. Not from weakness, but from strength shared. And deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the Guardian Prime rested. Its eyes closed. its weapons silent, its purpose complete. But the faint blue light never went out. It waited, just in case, because some threats never truly die, and some protectors never truly sleep. Earth turned on its axis, seasons changed, people lived, loved, built, dreamed. The stars stayed bright, and the galaxy remembered. A small world once forgotten had reminded everyone. Do not touch the cradle, for the children grow strong, and when they do, even the oldest guardians bow their heads in respect.